Hi, I'm Alicia.
And I'm Robin, and you're listening to Bowel Moments,
the podcast sharing real talk about the realities of IBD. Served on the rocks. This week, we celebrated Stacey and Robin both having their J-Pouches for 1 whole year. We talked a lot about what they learned and what was happening in their lives during this time, and give you some tips and ideas of what to expect if you're considering J-Pouch surgery. And you get a look behind the curtain and get a chance to hear some of the silly conversations that sometimes get cut from these episodes. Cheers.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Robin.
Hey, guys. This is Alicia, and I am, of course, always excited, but today I'm particularly stoked. Look, new word.
Oh, new word.
New word. Thesaurus. Particularly stoked because friend of the show, Stacey Collins, is back. Yay!
Thanks for having me. Thanks so much for having me, y'all.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. Oh my God, that's amazing. And I love that so much. So, Stacey, you are back because in addition to us just adoring you, we want to talk about your J-Pouch is having its 1-year anniversary, and Robin's just had her 1-year anniversary. And so your lady pouches are, that's weird. We're not saying that. Wow. Nope. No, that's so dirty. So dirty. It's going well. So far.
We're having a great time. This is going to be a great show, everyone.
It's so good.
It's going to be a great show.
God, okay. Whew. So,
Oh
all I can say is lady pouches now. I can't unthink it.
That's the name of the episode.
Lady pouches.
1 year of lady pouches. Oh my
1
God.
year anniversary of our lady pouches.
Oh, I'm crying.
Okay. I haven't laughed that hard in a while. I can't breathe.
Okay.
Let's just call them J-Pouches, Alicia. Shall we? Shall we just call them J-Pouches?
I think I have to start over. Okay. All right. Okay. I can't look at you guys and say this. All right.
I'm fine.
All right. So it's been 1 year with your J-Pouches. So we're so excited to go over all of the things that you've learned in the last year of living with these pouches. Guys, I want to start out by saying congratulations on 1 year. I know it was a hard one. Lots of learning. Can you tell me what it was like by quarter? So like the first quarter after you got your J-Pouch, sort of what was it like? What was new? What did you learn? And then second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So go by quarters for me, please.
And we are going by quarters after our takedown or after what do you want?
Like
yes.
You
okay, because it is 1 year since takedown.
Okay.
So
okay, 1 year since takedown.
Since everything has been reconnected and they're like, congratulations,
you have a new butthole.
Poop out of your butt again.
High five.
Good luck to you.
Yeah. Good luck to you and your new butthole. Stacey, you want to go first?
You go first because you went first with surgery.
This is
smart.
true. So
hang on.
What?
I'm sorry, but what are you drinking? I
the
can't
most
believe.
important question of the night.
Oh my gosh.
So sorry, guys. So rewind. Stacey, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a ranch water, tequila and lime juice, a little bit of Topo Chico, and I'm drinking, most importantly, out of a glass given to me by my friend Caroline, who's been on the podcast, as a surgery recovery present.
Cute.
I'm doing good. I'm on some new shit.
I like it.
I like that glass. I might need to just make one for myself.
I'm sure Caroline can tell you where she got it, or
yeah, Etsy.
The one on the street is
Etsy.
Yeah.
You're next. What are you drinking?
Long story long, I did not go to the grocery store and haven't gone in a while because I've been traveling for work. And so I'm drinking what is left in my refrigerator, which happens to be mojito.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Guess what I'm drinking?
Champagne?
No.
Ranch water.
I'm drinking ranch water as well in honor of Stacey.
I am honored. Thank you. I'm honored. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink, clink.
Now that we are in the appropriate space, the appropriate frame of mind, we all have had a little bit of alcohol. Talk to me about your quarters of a year of takedown J-Pouches.
Robin first.
Q1. Just as a reminder to all of you who, the maybe 100 people that listen to us now, I'm being optimistic, Alicia. I changed surgeons after my original pouch surgery. I had an extended amount of recovery and changed surgeons through that process. And after after the takedown surgery, which was the end of July last year, so just not even a month ago would have been my anniversary, my guts did not want to do what they were supposed to do, which does happen sometimes when you have intestinal surgery, and they just didn't want to work. Everything was going in the wrong direction. And so what sometimes you can be in the hospital for just a couple of days. I was in the hospital for, I want to say, a week after my takedown surgery, which is a little bit longer than what they usually do. They don't want to send you home until they know that your intestines are functioning the correct way. And so I had to get potassium and magnesium via IV, like huge doses, in order to trick my intestines into functioning correctly. And that's kind of painful. The potassium is kind of painful. So they did it really like a really slow drip. So my guts were revolting right after surgery. But once they did the potassium and magnesium, everything started working and I got to go home pretty quickly. And I had a 30-day virtual follow-up with my surgeon. And then my surgeon was like, do you have a call with your GI scheduled? You know, an appointment with your GI scheduled? And I said, I do. And he said, go on and live a merry life and call me if you have any problems. So I didn't have to have any follow-up with the surgeon past that. Q1 was figuring out what I could eat, my intestines learning how to work again. So even though I haven't had a colon for 20 years, I still had a rectum before, which knows how to function, you know, do the functions of large intestines. And so your small intestines really have to figure it out. It is an amazing organ, everyone. Your small intestines are freaking amazing. So they have to learn how to work again. I was going to the bathroom a lot overnight, 2 and 3 times at night, which I kind of expected because this is not my, first rodeo with intestinal surgery. But so that was hard because I was so tired going to the bathroom so often at night and trying to work and have mental capacity to do that. But it was exciting for me because I got to try foods that I hadn't been able to eat for a really long time again, because I had to relearn, right, what I could tolerate and what I couldn't tolerate, because I had a whole new GI system there trying to figure out how everything works. So that part was fun because I got to try to keep eating fruit, which I had started eating with the ostomy, right? I had started drinking smoothies and with berries and stuff. It's food that I haven't eaten in a long time. So it was, the first quarter was just trying to recover from surgery, still recovering from what happened to me with my first surgery in December, because I was not back to 100% before I had my takedown surgery. So I was still full recovery mode from that, and really listening to my body to try to figure out what was going to be, I can't say new normal because it takes a while to recover from intestinal surgery. And I didn't expect it to go back to normal, but it was just trying to really listen to my body to figure out what it was doing and what it needed from me, if that makes sense.
Yes, very relatable. And I guess as a reminder, Robin had her surgery for J-Pouch in 2 surgeries since she already had no colon. Mine was in 3. So moving into the last surgery, takedown, I didn't really feel like I had fully recovered from my second surgery. I remember like maybe 2 weeks prior being excited because, no, I think it might have been 1 week prior. Zach and I were going to a wedding and I was like, oh, good, I can stand up without feeling hunched over from pain. And that was just 1 week before my takedown. It was about 8 weeks. So the second surgery was quite painful for recovery. Then after takedown, my intestines were like awake, ready to go. 2 days later, I was discharged from the hospital. Was very apprehensive around food at first, but my ulcerative colitis was always so severe that I felt immediate nausea pretty much when I would put food in my mouth. And I didn't experience that with the J-Pouch. So it was kind of immediate relief, and it wasn't painful at first, which was kind of a surprising experience for me because I expected it to be the worst pain and all of the above. But really, once I recovered from the second surgery, I didn't find that recovering from the J-Pouch was as painful. Mentally recovering from takedown was definitely harder. And Q1 was me telling my body, even though you're in pain, even though you're tired as hell because you're waking up 3 to 4 times a night, or 1 to 2 times on a good night, you're still healing. So I had all kinds of affirmations basically in every room that was like, you're healing even when you don't feel like you're healing. And it was a lot of tears, and it was a lot of me being like, maybe I don't need to track how many bowel movements I'm having a day because this is feeling very discouraging. And a lot of me just saying, this sucks, you're still healing. And that was pretty much the big theme for my Q1.
I feel like you needed reminders that you are a patient and not an RD at this time. Like you needed to not approach everything from your training and approach it just as being like just in patient mode.
Yes. 100%. That's honestly, Robin helped me through a lot because I was like, wait, I didn't know this was going to be that painful, or I didn't know this was going to feel like that. And Robin was like, oh yeah, I think I went through that 20 years ago, but what you're experiencing is definitely part of the experience. You just hang in there and
it gets better.
Yeah, it gets better. Yeah, so giving myself permission to just eat fried chicken from Cane's without being like, this isn't optimal for your nutrition. That was pretty much my experience every day.
I remember one time, and I don't know what quarter this was in, but I do remember at one point telling you, eat the pizza, because you asked me, like, what food do you go to that doesn't cause pain? And I told you, I know this is going to sound crazy to your dietitian ears, but the answer is pizza. I can always eat pizza. And I was right, right?
You were right. Robin RD.
No,
Robin's correct though, because pizza ended up being like the gateway drug for more vegetables for me, because I was able to play with like adding more vegetables to my pizzas and seeing how that felt. And okay, maybe I overdid it on the arugula this time. We're going full cheese. Yeah.
Do you feel like that, because like Robin said, she was able to start eating more and different foods than she had been able to when she had the ostomy. Do you feel like having the ostomy helps train you a little bit to start being more experimental and to being more open to food and sort of preparing your body for more food?
I do think that was helpful because for me, well, I will say two things. First, I was very fearful of reversal. I almost didn't go through with it because I was really enjoying the variety of food and the freedom that I felt with an ostomy. And I was worried that I would be sacrificing that with the J-pouch surgery and going back to having to trust my own body to tell me how food feels. Because historically, food has not been a safe experience by and large with my disease experience. And so I was very hesitant at first, but like pretty soon after surgery, I had a chocolate croissant and I was like, oh my gosh, I just cried the whole time while I ate it because I was so excited. And Zach was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm eating a chocolate croissant and it's not causing pain and I'm not nauseated and my intestines are inside my body. So I did feel like it gave me variety, but I was kind of freaking out because I really did not have an appetite, no interest in food whatsoever for about 5 to 6 weeks. Like it took a long time. And I had to learn a lot of self-compassion and patience, just telling myself, you just went through a lot. Your intestines just went through a lot. They'll come back. You just need to keep eating. And they did.
Robin, what about you? The question was, do you feel like your ostomy kind of helped prepare you to try it more in different foods? Because especially for you, your diet was super limited before you got surgery.
Eventually, yes. I had the ostomy for a total of 7 months. And at first, I had a lot of leaks at first. Let me just put it this way. Instead of having me like stand up, sit down, bend over to figure out the right place to put the ostomy, they just put it where my last ostomy was, which was 20 years ago when I had a completely different body. So the ostomy placement wasn't ideal. And so I had a lot of leaks at first. So I was really scared to eat anything. And not because of pain or, it was because of the leaking. And so at first I was like barely eating after surgery. But once I got past the first probably 4 weeks, and I actually started to be able to have the ostomy last 24 hours and 48 hours. And, when it started lasting a little bit longer without leaking, I was willing to start eating more foods. And I knew from past experience having the ostomy before that having the ostomy was my opportunity to just like eat whatever I wanted. I say that with the caveat that when my diagnosis changed to Crohn's, the Crohn's is in my stomach, not my intestines. So I was hesitant, but I still was like, I'm gonna see what this baby can take. And I say it like that, just that I was, again, able to eat fruit for the first time in 20 years. For 20 years, I'd only been able to eat bananas. And I was able to slowly, through smoothies and that kind of thing, start to integrate more fruit into my diet. And I thought that it would be the only time I'd be able to eat fruit. So I was just super grateful to be able to do that because I missed fruit so much. And I took the opportunity to eat more vegetables with the ostomy. So yeah, food that I would not have been able to eat previously, fruits and vegetables. Yes, I took advantage of having the ostomy and able, in order to be able to eat that. And also with the idea that I might not be able to eat it after surgery. I might have to go back to how I was eating before and I wouldn't be able to eat it again. So I went wild with fruits and vegetables.
Well, I'm glad you guys balanced it though with fried chicken and pizza because that,
that's what it's about. That's a simple life.
Well-rounded.
Okay, it comes in a balance.
So that was quarter one.
Yeah.
Next quarter.
I would say that November, December, January was when the gas attack happened.
Preaching a word.
That was Q2, right, Stace? I mean, that's when it really started. So I feel like I'm going to have a lot of fun facts here. I had not passed gas in like 20 years. The whole time after my colon was removed, it's not that I didn't have gas, like I would burp and stuff, but I just never passed gas the normal way. And wasn't used to having gas pain, gas collecting, getting bloated. Like I thought I was dying all over again. Like gas pain is horrendous.
It's scary. Scary.
I'm like, is this an obstruction? Like, what is happening inside there? Like, I just didn't know. And my J-Pouch doesn't like gas, doesn't like to pass gas. Like, it makes me feel like I'm constipated. So now, a year out, I know that if I have a feeling like I need to strain, I'm like, oh, it's gas. It's time for some toilet yoga. The second quarter was like really just figuring out how to manage gas, like heating pad at night, hot baths, toilet yoga. And it wasn't even like trying to figure out the foods that cause gas. Like, the only beverage at the time that I was drinking that was carbonated was sparkling water. And so I stopped drinking sparkling water. I stopped drinking through a straw. Like anything that could potentially get air into the intestines, I was trying to stop doing because the gas pain was real. And I tried taking like Gas X, which kind of helped a little bit, but not really. It was just something my body had to get used to. And I thought that it was just me because because of my surgery from 20 years ago and all of that. But then a couple of months later, Stacey asked me like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's not just me. This must be a thing that happens when you have pouch surgery. So Q2 was figuring out how to manage the gas because I couldn't pass it, right? I couldn't just pass it like normal because I didn't know if I'd end up going to the bathroom on myself, right? I didn't know how to tell if it was gas or if I actually had to go to the bathroom. And I think Sam talked about this a little bit on our very first episode. Yes. I think they talked about having gas and passing gas and being able to tell the difference between gas and having to go to the bathroom. So Q2 was just figuring out, okay, what feels like gas? How can I manage it? Can I pass it? I was really scared in Q2 because I thought, like the surgical exit, like maybe it's tightening and maybe they're going to have to go in and expand it again because they had to do that before my surgery. Like my surgeon had to do that before he would take down my J-pouch. Like a stricture was there. And so it had to be expanded. And so I was like really worried that that's what was happening again, because I felt like I had to strain all the time. And I was only 3 or 4 months out from surgery. So I knew that couldn't be good. So, I mean, that's a lot of explanation just to say the gas is bad, but it was bad. A lot of gas.
I had a lot of existential texts flow into Robin, and I was like, what is this? And she's like, oh yes, I'm so glad you're experiencing this as well. What a relief.
I thought it was just me.
It was pretty bad, but I started to travel a lot more in Q2. I think that's something that I might have mentioned in previous episodes. I feel left behind because my 20s were so sick. And so now I'm like, we got to go. We got to get on a plane. Where are we going? And I went to my friend's bachelorette party in Napa. Also, Caroline. Thanks for the glass, Caroline. Thanks for being a human, Caroline. We love you so much. And I was very nervous about that trip. I remember being like, I scheduled this too prematurely because I'd never planned a trip before. Never in my adult life have I planned a trip. I've usually booked a ticket a day or two in advance because I would inevitably end up in the hospital or canceling it because I'm scared. And so I booked this trip like several months in advance, and I was like, I don't know if I should have done that, but I'm in it to win it. We're committing. And I went to Napa, and the gas was terrible the whole time I was there, but I had glasses glasses of wine. I didn't have to make any special bathroom trips just for me. We didn't have to pull any cars over. I had pizza. I felt like it was the most normal trip that I had had in my adult life. And so learning how to be a human, like learning how to be in line, that's a previous like mental trigger for me. Any sort of line situation, I'm like, I need to know where the bathroom is right now. And if I couldn't find the bathroom, aka Bush Intercontinental Airport, I don't know why you do that to people, I didn't panic. I was like, I'm just going to trust that my J-Pouch is really uncomfortable right now because I have gas, and I'm just going to pray that I make it through. And I never had any issues. So it was a lot of gas and a lot of learning how to be a human again. I stopped tracking completely. I have like on my notes app in my phone, like how I was feeling mentally, how I was doing mentally. I stopped tracking all of that during Q2 because I was like, I just need to figure out how to live with this. And also started talking about my experience in therapy in Q2 because I live 9 hours one direction from my doctor. I'm very much a medical desert where I live. There's no practitioners where I live that know anything about IPAA surgery. You don't go to the GI doctor in Midland, Texas if you're acute GI patient with a lot of meat. You just don't do that.
No, you don't.
And I hate to say that because I worked in a hospital where people had to do that. So I know that this is a privilege to get to hop on a plane and go to my GI doctor, but I would wake up having panic attacks, something's wrong, no, it's gas. And then I would have to talk about this in therapy. We started naming these thoughts the big dust storm because I live in West Texas. There are dust storms here. And that way I could say, nope, that's just my brain trying to protect me. That's just my body trying to protect me. Those are the big dust storm thoughts. I'm okay. If anything goes wrong, Zach will take care of me. I'm surrounded by people I love. I will be okay. I am okay right now, and I will be okay. So Q2, cheers.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I would imagine that would be really scary because pain usually would mean something like a stricture or an obstruction or something in the past. And so to try to figure out what pain this is versus is it a panic inducing emergency room pain, that's really hard to trust your body again. So that's
very hard. And with an obstruction, you can usually point exactly, exactly where it is. It's the same thing with gas with the small intestine. You can point. And so it becomes very difficult to separate the two mentally.
I feel like they should just automatically enroll you in therapy when you go through any of these types of surgeries. Just be like, oh, you're going to have surgery? All right, well, welcome to your therapist.
I don't know how people do it without therapists.
I mean, I tried, but then I started having panic attacks and ended up in therapy. So hello, medical trauma.
Yeah.
Did it get better in Q3?
Yes.
Let's move there then. Let's move.
Q3 was okay. I decided that I'm feeling so much better and I'm going to do a half marathon in Q3.
This is on brand. Wait, can we pause? This is the most Robin thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay.
1,000%. She's like, I feel pretty well. I think I'm going to do the Iditarod. Like, what?
And wait, when did Marie come? When did you get Marie?
Oh, yes, December, the end of Q2, beginning of Q3. So
Robin got a new puppy.
Yes.
And was like, I'm also going to register for a half marathon.
Yes, these are facts. And also, I should point out that I moved in December. I moved states. So just to recap for everyone, I had surgery in December of 2020, almost die, sell my house and move to another state in February of 2021, have surgery in July of 2021, and then move again in December of 2021. And now here we are at Q3, and I decide to register for a half marathon of 2021. I mean, 2022.
She's going to do it all by herself too.
So I started off Q3 with a half marathon and I got halfway. I did it with my daughter, Logan. It was her first half marathon. So they live in California. I went and did a half marathon in California with Logan and her roommate. And I got halfway through the race and was like, I don't want to be too far from a porta potty anymore. So I actually had a mile where I just did a couple of loops around 2 porta potties so that I didn't get too far. People who were doing the race were probably like, what in the world is this woman doing? Good thing they just kept running by and didn't know that I kept circling and then finished after I'd done a couple of those mile loops and then finished so I could get close to my 13 miles. Whatever those 3 miles were, right? I just made 3 loops right there so that I didn't have to go a mile and a half away from a porta potty.
So Robin goes slightly crazy, adopts a puppy, moves, and signs up for a half marathon.
Yeah.
Stacey, does this track with you as well? Or did you decide to suddenly alter your life completely as well?
I'm continuing to travel like nobody's business. Every other week I'm on a plane. I'm saying yes to absolutely everything everyone asks me to do. Am I overextending myself? Maybe. I don't care. So I don't register for a half marathon because I think that I am taking really good care of myself by not overextending myself. So I just found other ways to be really busy. But no half marathons for me. Just stayed really.
You were traveling a lot.
Yeah. Work. I'm like, wait, why else was I traveling? Why was I on an airplane? Maybe I was just doing a loop of Texas. Probably. I don't know. Trying to get out of West Texas. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any big themes from Q3, and really, I think all I can come up with was I'm seeing a pelvic floor PT. I'm realizing that I've been really disconnected from my pelvic muscles, probably out of my own self-protection, and I'm starting to have to bring awareness to those muscles in order to facilitate their healing, and that is uncomfortable for me emotionally and physically, and most of my therapy sessions are spent me saying, you don't know me, you don't know me. And then I go to pelvic floor physical therapy and she's like, how have your exercises been going? I'm like, you don't know me. So Q3 is a lot of me just in denial and doing my best and overextending myself. It was great.
I will add that because I moved, I got a new GI. So I did change GIs in Q3 and had to find new doctors in my new home, which was challenging because I live in a very rural area now. And I drive 3.5 hours to my specialist, which I'm very grateful that I can do because previously I drove 6 hours or flew to my specialist. So that was new and challenging, trying to navigate having the pouch and then also seeing the new doctor and needing iron infusions and trying to find a place to do iron infusions. There were many days that I cried trying to get the care that I needed here, living in a smaller town and having to find some place close by, hopefully within an hour, to do that kind of stuff. And I'm very lucky that I have health insurance and I have a vehicle and I have a job that will give me time off. And, I have all of these advantages, and navigating our healthcare system is just so discouraging and disappointing. And I cried many, many days trying to figure out how I was going to get the care I needed. Q3, I also had to have a scope. I hadn't had an EDG in a long time, probably a couple of years because of the pandemic, where that's how we found out the Crohn's was in my stomach. And so the new GI is like, it's been too long. I need to get in there and take a look at your stomach, and we'll look at your pouch while we're there. And they found dysplasia again, which is, what started the whole thing about having to have a pouch in the first place. And so all of this stuff was happening in Q3 while I was trying to just recover. And
sorry to interrupt you, Robin, but
yeah,
dysplasia is precancer cells for people who don't know that term.
Thank you. So Q3, while I started it off strong with the half marathon, because, I'm all better now, I ended up with having 2 scopes in 4 weeks because they found dysplasia in the first scope, but couldn't do anything about it because of where it was, because of the pouch. And then having to get an endoscopic specialist in to do another scope to try to take care of that, just, in a scope procedure and not having to have actual surgery. And so, for that whole month, I thought I might end up with an ostomy again because what if they can't get it? And then I can't keep the pouch. So all of that was happening in Q3. And even though getting the puppy was crazy, it helped so much my recovery because I was forced to get outside and walk. And I was forced to be in nature and not pay attention and focus on my thoughts. So between having the puppy and being outside in my new home multiple times a day and therapy, therapy.
This is an ad for therapy.
And the fact that I did do the half marathon, even though it was probably just
You did it.
shitbag crazy, I still did it. And it let me know that I could do it. I don't recommend it to other people. So don't listen to me and be like, hey, if Robin did it, I can do it. No.
The theme I'm hearing from Q3 is that it's a total roller coaster because like you
Yes.
have these moments where you're like, hooray, I can live again. And then you're like crashing down into this like terror and discouragement around feeling sick again because of, you know, being anemic and having to get the scope and feeling like, oh shit, why did I do this in the first place? You know, so it feels like Q3 has its like super highs but super lows.
Yeah, I think part of that is because the bowel stuff that's happening too. You're feeling healed. You're getting used to the tourist on the roller coaster in your bowel, as Robin so eloquently described the tourist on the roller coaster. You're getting used to the gas pains. You're getting used to it in a way that you're not freaking out as much. So you're like, oh, I'm ready to go. Let's go. But then your bowel's still healing. So, yeah, it's like a disconnect between your mind and your brain. It's like they go at different levels.
Well, and like the reason you did this is to feel better. And so you're like, well, now I should feel better. And so fuck this. I'm
Let's
going to
go.
I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to go run a half marathon.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to get a puppy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still stand behind the decision to get the puppy.
Yeah.
And to move 10 minutes from the beach.
Yeah.
I stand behind those decisions. Those were the best decisions I made.
Honestly, yeah,
after surgery.
you have to figure out what's going to make your life feel more fulfilled. And if it's getting a puppy and living near a beach, do it if you can.
Yes.
All right, Q4, ladies.
Q4. So oh my God, I am a psychopath. I am a psychopath. So I changed jobs.
I don't think it's psychopathology. I think it's more like glutton for punishment.
Okay. It feels like I need some kind of medical intervention, like more. So I changed jobs.
Give me your therapist's number and I will happily talk to her.
I change jobs and take on more responsibility. I start my new job in the busiest season that I could possibly start this job. And it's pretty much balls to the wall for the entire Q4. I am working 12-hour days. In addition to recording our podcasts in the evening, I also now have work calls in the evening up until 10 o'clock at night, depending on what time zone everybody on the call is on. So this is every weekday, and that happens for a few weeks, and then I start traveling. So I have been traveling for work for probably 7 out of the past 10 weeks. One of those weeks was to go see Alicia in New Orleans, though. So
jealous.
That was traveling for work, but for the podcast, not for the job that actually pays my bills. That was traveling for the job that Alicia and I gave ourselves when we said, ooh, let's do a podcast. It'll be fun. So this whole past 3 months, and especially the past 2 months of all the travel, I went into it with the idea of I am going to just see what I can eat and just see what happens. And I even talked to Stacey before I started traveling. I was like, I just don't have the mental capacity to try to plan out my food in all these different scenarios and plan for shopping and plan for storage and plan for preparation while trying to travel. And so I just wanted to approach the summer with an open mind and be willing to try the food that was available to me through all of my work travel. And there was 1 week that was really rough. And that's the week that I was due my Stelara. So like leading up to needing my Stelara and a few days after it, that week was super, 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 super hard. I even had to get my Stelara delivered to where I was traveling to because they couldn't get to me at home on time before I was leaving to travel again. So I was a few days late. And so that probably impacted it. I do know that when I'm a few days before and a few days after it's time for my medication, sometimes if I'm under stress or if it's my time of the month, I will feel more symptoms. I'll be more symptomatic and have more pain. So Q4 was traveling, which I will tell you this, Stacey mentioned it for her Q2 and Q3 because of all the travel. The gas does increase when you are flying in an airplane. Just be prepared for it.
Altitudes.
That's the altitudes. You will get the altitudes from plane travel. But I will say this too, in Q4, I learned how to pass gas without going to the bathroom on myself. Between Q3 and Q4, I was able to
She's just showing off.
Pay attention, and I can tell like the sensations are different. And I can tell when I have to pass gas versus when I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm not showing off. I just haven't had a colon for 20 years. And you are brand new to the no colon life.
Thank you for that
So
reminder.
I had an advantage of my body already knowing how to live without a colon for 20 years. So I had a huge advantage when it comes to that. And also in Q4, I ate actual fruit, not blended up. So when I was traveling, some of the food that was available to me was fresh fruit. And I just was like, I'm going to eat this fresh fruit. So I've had watermelon and pineapple and fresh berries, so many things that I thought I would never be able to eat again. And I'm not going to cry about freaking berries.
I might cry about berries.
But being able to eat fruit and not have to take a pain pill, or I mean, I can't believe that I get to go to the grocery store and buy fresh fruit now. I'm so grateful every time. I mean, it seems ridiculous, but it's a miracle that I can eat fruit. Oh, and I had apples. They were cooked apples, but no one knows this. But I specifically hadn't had apples because the last time I had apples, I should have gone to the hospital and I didn't. I just tried to work out the obstruction on my own. And Matt told me it was like 3 days. And after the 3 days, he's like, I'm never letting you do this again. I'm taking you to the hospital. I'm not going to let you tell me that I can't take you to the hospital when this happens. So I said, you don't have to worry about it. I'm never going to eat an apple again. And I didn't until just now, but they were cooked. But still, I mean, like after that 3-day experience, I definitely was not interested in eating apples, but I did eat apples. So I feel like Q4 for me was like actually getting to eat fresh fruit that wasn't blended and learning how to pass gas, and also like, you know, being put in my place because I still needed that Stelara, and I still had like a really bad week of needing pain medication and being exhausted. And, you know, I have a pouch, but I have Crohn's. So, you know, the Crohn's is not going to go away. So that was also a roller coaster of emotion. So that was Q4.
Robin, I'm so excited. I have to revisit the berries. You know, I had to circle back to the berries, but I'm so excited to hear you say that you're enjoying apples and you're enjoying berries. And this is what I'm talking about. Like food related quality of life is a quality of life. Like you're missing out on your quality of life whenever you're not eating the foods that you enjoy, regardless of nutritional content. If you're not enjoying the foods that you enjoy because of fear, because of past consequences, that's such a bummer. And sometimes it just happens with IBD and it's so overlooked. And I'm so excited that you're eating apple, because when I met Robin a long time ago, you wouldn't even eat apple juice. You were like, no.
Oh, no, I have not drank juice yet.
Well,
I haven't drank, I have not ventured there, but I have eaten oranges, which is another thing like apples that I haven't eaten in a long time.
But you do smoothies really well. You do fruit really well and you're enjoying your life. And that's what matters. Q4, I had a birthday and I went to DDW where I listened to Dr. Tiffany Taft, and she talked about PTSD and IBD. And I felt like she was reading my book, and I was like, God, you don't know me, Tiffany Taft. Okay. And then I realized I wasn't advocating for myself because I was afraid of seeing my surgeon again. So I learned a very valuable lesson in Q4, which was maybe just open up to your surgeon staff about how you're feeling and see what options are available, because I know in GI land what options are available to me because I've been there for 10 years. I trust my doctor because we have an established rapport and relationship, and I feel very safe under her care. And in surgery land, I am new to the rodeo, and I explained to them that I was not going to my endoscopy appointment, not going in for my checkups because they scared me. And I didn't appreciate when they did procedures without first explaining to me what was expected or asking for consent. And the consequence was I was too afraid to go back into their office, and I mentally and physically felt like I could not go back and feel safe. What were my options? I sent that email literally after Dr. Tiffany Taft's talk, like went out in the foyer, sat down on my computer, sent them an email. They emailed me back with a buffet of options and a very empathetic response. And I realized that I had the option in that moment to continue care with my GI doctor, whom I love and trust. And that is where I opted to continue my care. So I had a GI appointment in Q4 and it was very anticlimactic. And I am very happy to have that report because that's just not been my experience with GI. And then Zach and I traveled to Europe. I cried when the plane took off. He was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I was like, "I'm just so happy." I'm just so happy. So yeah, continue to be weirdly and wildly emotional over very normal life things that feel very extraordinary. Also in Q4, my brain's waking up to the point of where I feel like it is on fire. And I think that's probably attributed to an iron infusion, similar to Robin's experience where insurance wanted to approve one 5 hours away driving distance. I was like, but I'm here. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just fly to my doctor. I have so many points at this point. I'll fly to my doctor, get my infusion there. They can do all the labs that they want. And then, yeah, ended up needing another one. Iron's difficult for me because it makes me sick, but I know that it's necessary because I can tell you my brain is just she's awake. She's out to play. And I registered for like a certification course. I'm also in a job transition. I'm researching the hell out of things. I have so many ideas. Like I have a notes app idea on my phone. I just feel like my brain has not functioned in this capacity, maybe before my diagnosis. And I genuinely don't think that's an exaggeration. I feel like my brain is on fire. J-Pouch land continues to be a difficult adjustment. I will have days of being like, I got this figured out, followed by days of, am I okay? So it's continuing to adjust and it's been a roller coaster. Yeah.
I will say this for everybody. If you're having J-pouch surgery, like fully expect your initial recovery to last a year.
Yes.
Because I would not say I'm 100% recovered.
Nope.
And I don't think Stacey would say that. No, she wouldn't say that either. And so
Your initial recovery, do you mean from the very first surgery? Like, do you need a year from your first of your 3 surgeries? No, okay. A year okay.
From takedown.
And the reason why I say that a year from takedown is because your intestines really have to learn how to work again. While surgery is traumatic for you as a person, like your organ is like, it's like you just took spaghetti and just twirled it all up on a plate with a fork and then pulled it off the fork, right? I mean, it's just your intestines are pulled and stretched and cut and sewed and put back together and are expected to do a job that they were not intended to do. And so that takes time, like a lot of time. And so that's why I say initial recovery is now that we're at the year point, like gas is still a problem, but I am learning how to understand and differentiate between gas pain and pressure and urgency and actually having to go to the bathroom. I know when I'm dehydrated now a year in, like I'm like, oh, wait, okay, I'm dehydrated. I need to go drink some water. Like I know the signs of what that looks like now, but I wouldn't have 3 months, 6 months, 9 months out. Like it is a whole process. And my intestines are still learning how to go to the bathroom. I mean, I'll have a week where I don't go to the bathroom in the middle of the night at all. Yep. And then I'll have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night 3 or 4 days in a row. And it's just like your intestines are learning how to work again. So if you're having this surgery, just give yourself time to heal. Don't expect it to be like when you get released from the hospital, take 2 weeks off work and then you're back to normal. So that's it's just not going to happen that way.
Robin, you kept telling me it takes as long as it takes. And I wrote that down and it is on a Post-it in my bathroom.
Yes. So for everyone out there, it takes as long as it takes.
Yes, it does.
It takes as long as it takes.
From the research, intestinal adaptation can take up to 2 years. And I was recently on a lecture where somebody asked this intestinal transplant doctor at the Cleveland Clinic, I apologize, I don't remember his name, how long it takes. And he was like, we don't know. Like some people a year, some people 2, some people we don't know. Like
that feels right though. I mean, even though there's research to back it, it feels right. Like, because everybody's body is completely different. I wanted to touch back on the surgeon thing real fast because I felt like we both had a similar experience in that we trusted our GI, like had a great relationship with our IBD specialist. When our GI recommended a surgeon, we're like, okay, that's the one that our GI recommends. So we went to that surgeon and we both had not optimal experience experiences with that surgeon, me so bad that I ended up changing surgeons, between the procedures. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit, because if I knew then what I know now, when I went in for the first initial appointment with the surgeon, it was great, right? Let's take a look. This is going to be good. I think you're a good candidate. Let's do this test. Like, personable, seemed to have good bedside manner. But when we left the appointment, Matt's like, that dude was like a robot. He must have put his human chip in. And we laughed about it because we both recognized that, but when I go back and think about that part of it, like the conversation that Matt and I had afterwards, I should have asked different questions. I should have asked more questions. I should have potentially seen another surgeon to get another opinion of the procedure, because the surgeon that I switched to was like, I would have never done this surgery for you. He's like, I would have never given somebody with Crohn's a J-pouch, no matter the fact that you didn't have Crohn's, no signs of Crohn's in 20 years in your small intestines, no matter any of the things. He said, because a lot of the complications that you're having, that's what I see when we give a J-pouch to somebody with Crohn's, right? So if I had known then what I know now, I would have potentially explored other options, maybe talked to another surgeon, maybe even asked my GI, who I adored and trusted, is there anybody else I could go to see, right? But in my case, I felt like it was urgent because of the reason why I was having the surgery. Yeah. And so, it's kind of like hindsight's always 2020. So like, when you think about that now, when you go to see a surgeon, your GI you trust recommends it, how do you build that trust so quickly? Like, what kind of pointers or tips or questions would you recommend that people ask when they're going to see a surgeon for the first time?
Oh, that's such a good question, and one that I think about a lot, and I hate to think about because I don't feel like I have all of the solutions figured out in my mind. But what I think about is when I left my first appointment with the surgeon and I asked certain questions and I left with a particular feeling, that's what I should have gone off of, because that feeling was also true with GI doctors historically when I had asked them questions and I felt like my concerns were dismissed. Even if they gave answers that were, in theory, maybe they're even correct. But if I felt like they were trying to wasp away my concerns, it left me feeling a certain way. And if that's the same feeling that I had with the surgeon, I should have possibly asked for other opinions from my GI doctor. So I don't really have a particular set of questions, unfortunately. I just feel like I asked questions that were dismissed, and I wish I would have explored other options. I didn't feel like I had that liberty because it was very much like, your intestines are on fire. Also, the world's on fire. It's COVID. We're going to get you in as soon as possible. So I didn't feel like I had the liberty of that, but maybe if I just would have began there by asking that question, how much time do I have? Who else can I actually talk to about this? Asking my trusted GI doctor that, of course, that probably would have been a good starting place, because she has since provided me recommendations of surgeons to follow up with that she was like, actually think these would be a great personality fit for you. They're not in our institution, but I trust them.
I agree with that 100%. And I had similar experiences with other GIs too, right? Where you're trying to get answers, you're trying to tell them new symptoms, you're trying to explain what's going on, and you get the regular brush off that you always get. People think you're seeking pain medication, or it's all in your head, or, whatever the case may be, all of the things that we've all heard 100 times, whether you have Crohn's or not. So for me, it felt urgent to me, but maybe I did have time too. And I think that this is one of the reasons why I'm always spouting on here to consider surgery as an option and not a last resort, so that you do have time to have those conversations. You do have time to talk to more than one surgeon to find out if there's somebody that's going to be a better fit for you. And you're not, I don't want to say stuck, but you're not in that situation where you don't have time to look around. You don't have time to meet different people. You don't have time to get your questions, answered. And you're just in an emergency situation, because that's the doctor that you have for follow-up too. So, and if it's multiple procedures, that's the doctor that you have for those multiple procedures, unless, you're like me and you're like, nope. Not going to do that, but not everybody has that option to do that. So I feel like, just like we've talked about with mental health on here, and just like we've talked about with trying to find a GI that's right for you, I feel like that conversation applies to a surgeon also, but everyone is so conditioned to think that surgery is the last resort. And when you do that, then you don't give yourself options.
And it's hard to go against what your doctor is saying too. I mean, if your doctor is saying this is the surgeon I trust, you kind of go, well, then who am I to question it? A little bit like, well, but she trusts this person, so it must be the right right person, but absolutely, just like with your GI, it has to be a good personality fit. And I know you guys struggled a bit too with not just the surgeon, but also like the staff of like getting responses and like the admin even that was happening within the office, and how that you need somebody who's going to respond to your emails and questions and calls and answer questions, you know, so it's important to, you're basically auditioning everybody at that point, you know.
You
so,
are. That's a really good point, Alicia. But you don't know what's going to happen in that surgery. And I'm a prime example of that. You don't know if you're going to get released from the hospital in 2 days or 3 days, like they said, and just go about your merry way, or if everything that you sign on that waiver that they say can go wrong is going to go wrong. So everybody in that office I had to deal with, right? So if I had paid closer attention, so I would encourage you, if you're in a situation where you have to have surgery and you have any amount of time, get more than one name from your GI.
Absolutely.
And talk to at least 2 people. And that way you have options that you've been able to explore to see if one is a better fit for you than the other.
I will say something I'm proud of myself for doing is I asked about very specific scenarios. If this happens, then what will you do? If this happens, then what will you do? And I felt like he really took his time to respond to those, because I felt like I went into it confident that he had experience in every scenario. Anything goes wrong, this doctor has seen that, and he has not reassured me that something isn't going to go wrong, because he cannot do that. And it's important to keep in mind that J-Pouch surgery is a resume builder. Unfortunately, there's a lot of surgeons that would probably love to do J-Pouch surgery that perhaps need more experience. So I would ask about every worst case scenario. Even, I mean, this is one of the things where like I really value direct communication. So maybe it's an introspective thing that you need to do, like look at your values. And if you don't like direct communication, maybe get someone else to ask these questions. But I think it's important to go into it knowing that if anything happens, you're in the best hands skillfully. And I do feel like I came away from that conversation feeling reassured in that area, at least.
It's so tough because there is that sense of urgency that goes along with it. And so you feel compelled to make a decision. And for some folks, they don't get to make the choice. It's just whoever happens to be the surgeon when they go into the emergency room and need surgery.
Right.
And so it's a tough thing, which is why people are scared of surgery. I mean, it's painful, it's hard, it's, you know, it's expensive. And, you know, you don't have that relationship with this person. You both have, you know, amazing doctors that answer all your questions, and you have such great relationships with them. And that's not the relationship you have with this new person who's supposed to be suddenly taking care of you. So it's hard.
And I will say that my surgery 20 years ago was more of an emergent situation. I was already in the hospital when the decision was made for me to have surgery. I'd been in the hospital for over a week. And so I think I talked to the surgeon twice and then had surgery. You know, I had a colonoscopy in the hospital, and the GI said, I'm going to bring in a surgical consult. The surgeon talked to me, looked at everything, and then like a few days later came back to talk to me and then scheduled me for surgery. So I have been in a situation where it was extremely emergent to have the surgery. And so this situation felt better to me because I did get to go into the office and meet the surgeon before, and they did run those telemetry tests and make sure that I was a good candidate and everything. But I would just highly encourage anyone else listening, if you are going to need GI surgery, to ask for multiple recommendations from your GI.
Also, a good lesson to take from your experience is you can have someone do your total colectomy and find out they're not a good fit, and then go to another surgeon for another surgery.
Yes.
You don't have to commit the whole process to one person.
That is true.
Definitely talk to your doctor about that and make sure that you're moving to somebody who's experienced, so that you're not just like, I think this dude sucks, so I'm going to go to that guy. You
That's
know,
true.
Oh
That's
gosh.
true. I did
Be
talk to my
thoughtful.
GI and tell her that I was considering changing doctors and the reasons why, and then, you know, told her who I was considering going to. So yeah, I did not just go completely rogue, although that is on brand for me.
It is a bit, yeah.
I did not just go completely rogue.
And I do think it's important because in both of your cases, you did go back to your gastroenterologist and explain what had happened and give that feedback to her. In both of the cases, it was a her, you know, and because that is as uncomfortable as it is, because I know it wasn't easy for either of you to go be like, this was my terrible, shitty, awful experience with this person that you know and you really like. But that's feedback that has to happen, even if it's difficult. And because your doctor needs to know what has happened so that they can help advise the other person potentially or steer patients in different directions.
Right. And I told my doctor, I am grateful that this surgeon is skilled and saved my life. And also the care delivery has to be better. It just has. So I was very careful to be like, I'm not bashing this person, but like, can you hold your colleague accountable to providing the level of care that is initially marketed at the first visit?
And I don't know. And especially, I guess they go back to like, we are all women. We are conditioned to not like make waves, be quiet, whatever. So even if you feel like you are bashing somebody, it's still feedback. As long as you're not going in there and not providing objective experience evidence, like you're not going in and saying like, this is the experience that I had and this is why I'm saying it. If you're just going in and be like, he's an asshole, that's not giving any information that's helpful for that person to be able to do anything about. It should be that like, this was the experience I had and this is like, this person didn't call me or this person didn't ask my permission before doing something invasive. Like that's all objective feedback that person can then take and give to somebody else. So that's not making waves. That's not ratting somebody out. It's just providing a story. We need to be careful that we're not overcorrecting ourselves because we're women and we've been trained to do it. Frankly.
This is true.
This is a weakness of mine. So thank you for that reminder.
And
Stacey,
I actually
get mean sometimes. Okay.
Yes, you need to. You need to get mean.
In this case, yeah.
That's fair.
I also gave this feedback directly to
Good.
the surgeon and his NP and the office manager of the practice. So in person, not via email, like gave them this direct feedback and said, and by the way, I need you to send my records to my new surgeon.
I would have been like, and I'm going to follow this up with an email of outlines of ways you can change. Thank you. Guys, congratulations on 1 year of having your J-Pouches.
High fives.
Did you name your J-Pouches? Is this something you name? Like people name their ostomies?
I haven't named my J-Pouch, but she does identify as she, her.
Okay.
Mine does too, but I call her JP.
Nice.
Oh, I like that.
Well, congratulations. See, this is why I called them lady pouches, and now I can't unsee it.
It's fine.
It's terrible. Okay, guys, congratulations on 1 year with your God damn it, I almost said it again. I think this is bad. I'm like, I'm gonna have to wash my brain. Okay, congratulations on 1 year with your J-Pouches. Thank you for sharing all of your insights. I think it will be really helpful for people who are considering this or who maybe even started the process because there's a lot to learn. I know just in talking to you guys throughout the year of like, hey, here's this new aspect that I never knew. And so
aspect.
But I'm bumped.
Oh dear. Anyway, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Woo!
If you liked this episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and even better, share it with your friends. Cheers.